Welcome to Blue Tinted Glasses, the home of Leicester City talk on YouTube. Fan debates, live watch-alongs, post-match reactions, and all the Foxes banter you could ask for. Subscribe now and see the game through Blue Tinted Glasses.
Well then, Mahrez has made something of that. It's Mahrez! 2-0 to Leicester City!
Next to him, Anthony Kanaka finds Wood. Wood should score. Wood West Kanaka. Yes!
Here comes Leicester again with Heskey and Ibbett! Oh, this is incredible!
Got Jamie Vardy with him. Jamie Vardy sets off. Jamie Vardy!
Blue Tinted Glasses, the home of Leicester City talk on YouTube.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Blue Tinted Glasses for another Foxes Den. This time, it's something slightly different, and I'm excited for it. I'm excited to talk about this. It's a deep dive into the youth, into the academy, the youth products, and of course, I couldn't get anybody else in other than Jack Warswick, mate. People know you now after all your tweets, especially the ones recently of the three players you were on here a couple of weeks ago or last Tuesday telling us about it. But before we get into it, mate, how's things with you?
Yeah, good. Just been working a bit. Did some co-coms at the weekend, so just trying to get as much experience at the moment.
Lovely stuff, mate. Yeah, absolutely. We're absolutely loving the tweets and stuff. And I can see it there. You mentioned it to me before, though. The Rising Foxes Instagram and Twitter, you obviously run that as well. So that's normally where I get all of my my academy content from when I see it pop up on the feed. So that they're two really good pages. The reason I've got Jack on tonight is so we can discuss obviously some of the younger players coming through. Not even Monger or Evans, although or Page. I'm sure they'll come up in conversation. But some of the younger ones that recently graduated through the academy. So make sure to get your comments in because I think it's important that we do talk about the younger players because I didn't know who Jeremy Monger was until probably the start of last season. I saw a few people talking about him and praising him and saying he's the next best thing. And obviously, naturally, when you first hear that, you're skeptical. You're like, oh yeah, here's another one, right? Here's another one that's just gonna, fade out. But I don't know how early did you catch Jeremy Monger, mate? You're an expert. How early did you catch him?
I think it was August 2024, so they played Burton Albion in the EFL Trophy. I think he came off the bench for 20 minutes and he was just tearing them apart. And bearing in mind, he recently turned 15 at this point, so he was 14 in that August, and he just came in against these professionals League One team, and he looked the part really, and it came as no surprise that he was then in the first team by a few months later really.
Before we get into the players that we're going to talk about tonight, I mean, what's your thought? We all know about Monger. We don't need to talk about Monger, but Jake Evans. Let's touch on him quickly because there was a lot of hype around him. I believe at one point, you might be able to correct me. At one point, he was joint top goal scorer in the PL2, I think, or first or second in PL2 goal scoring wise at one point. And then obviously he featured a little bit towards the end of last season. I think he had a game in pre-season as well, but no sign of him at the moment. What do you put that down to, mate? Do you think it's just Marty not thinking he's ready, or I think there's still a bit up in the air about his contract, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, I'm not too sure really. I seen he was in training last week before the Birmingham game, but then he didn't play for the 21s and he wasn't on the first team bench. And then when you add in these new signings as well, and the extra 3 players onto the bench, I can't really see how he fits in. And I feel like it might be the lack of physicality. We kind of seen in pre-season how when he's coming against these men, he might not be as assertive or as dominant as he was against, people his age in the 21s level. So I think it'll be one to watch. I mean, he could still leave maybe, if a big academy comes in, but I'm not too sure really at the moment.
Lewis Page obviously is the third of the big three that a lot of people talk about. He's played quite a bit of football recently. What have you made to his start? Because I feel like it was it was fortunate, I suppose. He got a lot of game time probably because Bilal El Khanous left, right, and he was being left out of the team, and we didn't really have another number 10 other than maybe Ayew or someone like that. But do you expect his game time now to kind of like get reduced a little bit now that we've got Aaron Ramsey in? Maybe he'll just be more of an impact player, Lewis Page?
Yeah, probably. I mean, he didn't actually look too bad in the first few games, considering, he's 17.
Yeah.
He's not really played at this tempo, this level. And when you get him thrown into a away game at Charlton or a big game against Birmingham, it is a big step up. So I think he actually stood up to the test pretty well. He had some nice moments, like he was combining with Monga. So I think if we just, drop his minutes and take the pressure off, then he should improve a bit more, and then let James and Ramsey kind of become the focus.
Yeah, I mean, he got the assist as well, didn't he, against Birmingham?
Oh, yeah.
Got fortunate, but I mean, the running, the press was there, and he got on the end of that and was able to play in Fatawu. Okay, we might also be joined at some point by Rick as well, Rick Flair from the Big Strong Leicester Boys. But we'll come back to that if he does end up joining, because I know he's a big advocate for the youth. That is the first place I ever heard Jerry Munger's name. I was listening to the Big Strong Leicester Boys podcast, I think even earlier than last summer, maybe at the end of the championship winning season. And I heard him mention Munger's name. That was the first time I ever heard it. But anyway, this is what we're here to talk about. I've named it the class of 2025, and this was what was publicised the other day, a few days ago. 11 academy players have been rewarded for their continued progress within our academy pathway by signing their first professional contracts. Now, correct me if I'm mistaken, Jack, mate. Like, Monga hasn't even got a professional contract yet, right? Because he's not old enough. Is it only 17? You have to be 17 to get a professional contract, but he's on like a pre-agreement or something like that, if you know?
Yeah, I think so. So he signed his scholarship, and then you sign your pro, I think, 2 years later once that's done. So I think a lot of these players that have signed their pros now will have signed scholarships like 2 years ago, which should then mean Monga will do it in like 2 years. But I don't really know if like other teams can come in and maybe stop that, or like what's the process.
Yeah, it's I find it so confusing when we talk about the youth contracts and stuff, because it's like, do we get money? Do we not get money? Does it go to a tribunal like it did with Nyoni? And yeah, it's so confusing. But it also shows how crazy Monga is, right? This was Monga. These guys were in Monga's age 2 years ago, or maybe a year ago, 1 or 2 years ago, and Monga's already played in the Premier League and he's scoring and assisting in a championship. It's crazy. But they're the 11 players. There's actually 12 players on screen. Because one of them has a slightly different situation, which we are going to talk about a little bit later. That's Riley Carr, isn't it? I'm guessing I kind of guessed that was why there were 12 here, mate, and 11. 11. Obviously, it says 11 there because one Carr has come from a different club, right?
Yeah, I think so, and
yeah.
It might be he was with like the Scholars as well the other day, like when Monga signed, and he was in those pictures too. So I'm not really sure, but I think it's a pro.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, we're going to talk about how they've been doing. So, as we said at the start, it's a little bit frustrating because you can't watch the games normally. However, as somebody in the comments has said, this game here, if I bring it up quickly, a few of these names we're going to talk about today, but Leicester are playing Juventus in the International Cup. That is being broadcast on Juventus's YouTube channel apparently for free. So you can watch it back later, you can watch it now, whatever you want to do, but you will be able to watch that game back. And a few of these players we are going to discuss. We're not going to discuss every single one, but we're going to talk about some of them. And I know Jack's an expert in this type of thing. He's been doing some research. He knows he knows more than me at least. That's a start. So this is the Premier League 2 table from last season. So the 24-25 season. You can see Leicester down there in 10th. That's not the bottom of the league. There is more teams than that, but it cut off. But yeah, Leicester finished in 10th. However, This season, they've made a much better start already. 3 games in, they've won 2 and drawn 1 of them. Third in the league. I know, obviously, like we said, you can't watch them, Jack, but it shows, mate, that we have got a talented youth team here, and just from the start of the PL2 already this season, it's looking like they're getting on pretty well.
Yeah, and especially with the changes as well. Like we've seen Monga, Page, they've all stepped up now. So now the emphasis is on more different players. We're seeing, I think Lorenz Hutchinson was included today, and players from the under-18s. So they're clearly making the step up well. We're seeing like Kevin Gray and people like Luco, Jake Evans, who are kind of on the fringe of the first team, and they're all still performing. So I think, what is it, 2 wins, 1 draw, so very, very strong start, good defensively as well, which I think is important at this level.
Yeah, 100%, mate. So this is the first one we're going to talk about. I wanted to bring up Jake Donahue, who is a goalkeeper, and you might recognise his name. People in the chat who aren't necessarily kind of focused on the youth, the younger players, but I believe he was a part of pre-season. Is that right, Jack? This summer?
Yeah, so he was like the 4th choice keeper. So Stevie Balsa was 3rd, and then Begovic, and then Jakub Stolarczyk. So he was, in and around it. He was training. I think he was on the bench versus in the Cologne game. So, he's clearly rated, and he was in there above Harry French as well, who was the under-21s keeper for a lot of last season. So I think he's clearly rated. He's a year younger than French, and he's played at a lower level. So I think there might be a bit more potential there, and he could be someone we see a bit more next pre-season or in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you've done me a big favor, and you kind of gave me a little sneak peek into some of your notes. But when I was reading that, I saw he's been nominated for Player of the Month. Was that this month? No, sorry, I'm thinking of somebody else. Sorry, ignore me. I read that he penalty save in the 18s at the Adidas FA Cup. Obviously, he's a goalkeeper, rotating with Harry French for the under 21s. But yeah, what else can you tell us about him, mate? I mean, because it's exciting. With goalkeepers, I find it's always weird, Jack, because it's I feel like it's more difficult for keepers. Like you look at Jakub Stolarczyk, who has been at the club for quite a few years now, and he's only just getting his break, only because Mads Hermansen's left. Let's be honest. If Hermansen wasn't sought after, Hermansen would still be our keeper now. And and you look at Daniel Everson, right? He had to wait so long, and Danny Ward, they barely played because we had Casper, who was so good. So it's a long road ahead for Jake Donahue, mate. There's a chance he will never make it at Leicester, but that's not down to his ability. It's kind of, you have to get lucky, don't you, Jack, with goalkeepers? You have to get lucky like Jakub has, right, with Mads leaving and us not being able to spend much money as well. That is probably contributed as well. We're not really in a position to go and buy a new keeper. And for Jake, it's going to be a long road ahead, but he's got the potential to do it.
Yeah, it's like with Stevie Bell. So like he got his opportunities to play in pre-season because Begovic came in a bit later, and we didn't actually buy anyone. So he was like 2nd choice. And even last season, with some of the injuries to Jakub and Mads, he was actually like 3rd choice keeper. So he was, doing some of the pre-match stuff, traveling with the team, which is great experience. So I think it's definitely a lot to do with like circumstances, as you said, and when can they get that game time, maybe a loan spell. So we'll just have to see. But I think there's a lot of potential there. He played like 20 games for the under-18s last season. He played in the FA Youth Cup versus Chelsea when they lost 3-2. And he was on that tour in Florida where he made that penalty save in the shootout. So he's clearly had some good moments, and I think he's in the 21s this season. He's been sharing minutes, so we'll see how he kicks on.
And as you said, a second ago, but he was favoured over French in the pre-season, right? When they needed to fill that spot, they chose Donahue. Yeah. So how old is he, mate? Is he 17 or 18?
He's 18, but French 18. Is 19, so that year younger.
Oh, okay. So French is older, but Donahue at the moment is being favoured over him. So that I suppose that that speaks volumes. And as we can see here, in the game tonight, Jake Donahue there starting, and Harry French there on the bench. So at the moment, it seems Jake Donahue is being favoured there. So that's interesting to note for the future. Now, the next one I want to talk about, mate, I'm excited to talk about this one, because I think a lot of Leicester fans have heard his name before. However, when I saw a few of your notes and stuff, I thought, oh, he sounds really promising, and I've looked a little bit into it myself. But Kevin, I want to say Kevin or Kevon, whatever it is. So apologies, but Kevon, I'll say Kevon. Kevon Gray, defender. What can you tell us about him, mate?
Yeah, so aged 18, he's very athletic. He's like quite tall, very assertive. He can be a threat from set pieces. I think he nearly scores versus Liverpool from a header. 36 under 18 appearances, which is a lot of experience at this age. And now he's in the 21s. He joined the 21s towards the end of last season. So he's clearly highly rated. He was brought to Hong Kong for Soccer Sevens, which is another tournament. So I think that behind the scenes, they clearly rate him a lot. And he's now, again, in the 21s this year, already nominated for Player of the Month in August, which, again, is quite strong. 2 clean sheets already. So, yeah, I think they're definitely highly rated, and he has all the physical attributes to translate well into men's football, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we can see it here. Not everybody will know some of these names. I definitely recognise some of these names as players who are rated highly. And Mursad Ali, there's another one. So is he a little bit older than Jack? Is he? He's already.
Yeah, he's 19, Mursad, and
okay.
Kevin's 18.
Okay, Harry Gray, who is meant to be a really, really good young player. Obviously, the brother of Archie Gray as well. But my good friend Joe, he's been telling me all about Harry Gray for like 2 years, when Harry Gray was like 14 or whatever. And this guy's really, really highly rated. I think he was involved in their pre-season last year and this year.
Yeah, he played for the first team as well towards the end of last year. So yeah,
crazy.
He's very rated.
Yeah, he looks just like his brother as well. It's a little bit weird. But yeah, so that's one to look out for. And then, yeah, you've got obviously Charles Seagrave Jr. I've definitely heard of him before. But yeah, like you said, Kevin Gray nominated for PL2 Player of the Month. It'll be interesting. I didn't know the Premier League. I didn't know this gets put out there and stuff with this graphic as well. So that'll be one to watch going forwards. So you said he's 18, mate. He maybe isn't too far away from cup games or a loan even, because the thing with I always found with Monga and Evans is at 16 and 17 it feels a little bit too young to loan them out. It's a bit weird, but you kind of want to protect them, and even if you're playing them like we are with Monga, at least we can protect him. We have control over how long he plays and all of that, and how he's training and what he's doing in the gym and stuff like that. Whereas loaning a player out too young, I think you have to be 17 anyway to get loaned out. You have to be professional.
I think so.
But maybe at 18, he's approaching that time where maybe it is time for him to get loaned out.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably going to finish the season, so he's going to probably do a full season in PL2. But, when we get to the end of the season, say we do go up and, maybe he needs that loan move after a full season in PL2, then I could see that happening. And it would do him the world of good, that experience against physical strikers week in, week out, having that pressure to perform. And we've seen it even with Ben Nelson. Like, he went into League Two, I think, with Rochdale, and then he kind of built it up, and he was very highly rated, like with England, with Leicester. So I think with a centre-back, it does take a bit more time just to, prove yourself. But he is very physical, and I think that will definitely help in the long run.
Yeah, Peter Walker reckons Gray will be training with the senior squad by end of the season. That's my hot take. I don't think that's even a hot take. I mean, you see the situation at the moment with Leicester and defence is he just an out-and-out centre-back? Can he play out? Does he ever play full-back, or is he always out-and-out centre-back?
I think he's out-and-out centre-back. People like Mursad Ali can play left-back and be a bit more versatile, so I think he's more out-and-out.
Yeah, but I mean, with the situation at Leicester, we've not brought in any centre backs this summer, and we have a couple of defenders that we probably don't want to be here beyond this season, maybe even beyond January. I think, the ideal situation for Leicester fans, the ideal back line, if you like, is probably maybe Ben Nelson and Caleb Okoli. However, Vestergaard's had a good start to the season, and that's why he's starting there. But I think long term, Kevin Gray, Jack, he could be a big part of that defence. And Ben Nelson has been through the same pathway, I suppose, as Kevin Gray. And by the time Kevin Gray's in the first team, you've got Ben Nelson, will be quite a few years older and could be a good mentor. That's an exciting centre-back partnership for the future, maybe, Gray and Nelson, mate.
Yeah, and they're both like very physical, as I said. Like Ben Nelson's very tall. And I think that will be a big thing in getting yourself into that first team. I think that's what Mark Juventus wants. And especially if we have injuries, like there's 5 centre-backs there. Say if like another one gets injured, then he could easily start, coming into the side, maybe on the bench or training a bit more. So I can definitely see that pathway. Maybe not into the first team right now, but can certainly get a bit more experience this year.
Yeah. We've not spoken about Hutchinson yet, mate, so just stay tuned for that one. I just hope we don't treat him like Calvin Bassey. Rarely do we bring through our own centre-back. Yeah, I mean, the Calvin Bassey situation, did he actually come through our academy, Jack, do you know?
I think he might have got picked up like when he was pretty like a bit older, so like maybe 15, 16, not necessarily like 9. But yeah, we didn't really use him, and then he went to, Rangers, and then Ajax and all these teams. So that one was a bit of a shame, especially to see where he is now, like a brilliant Premier League level centre back. But I'm not sure if we could have actually held it, like kept him, because I think it was more he wanted to leave as opposed to what we offered. So yeah, I'm not sure, but that was a big shame because he would still start now.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you see him playing a lot in the Premier League, and yeah, I would agree with that. When's Gray contract run to? Well, these are the academy graduates, Frankie. So they've just signed their first professional contract. I don't know if it says anywhere how long they're signed on for. Do you know, Jack, how long it normally is?
I'd imagine 2 years, but that's just off the top of my head because it's normally 2 years. But it could be longer, it could be shorter. I'm not too sure right now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Peter says here, Frankie, they normally get 2 years. There you go. Mr. Mod reckons Bassey wanted to be a left back. Patrick says, I'm sure a new centre-back will be signed no matter what. Hopefully Gray is ready in 2 to 3 years' time. Yeah, who knows? Players can explode. And the developments are quite often different, right, Jack? Like, you've got Dewsbury Hall, who I would call a bit of a late developer in this sense that,
definitely.
I think he gained a starting spot maybe when he was, 22 maybe? And he was on loan for quite a bit at Luton. And I think most fans, if you said Kiernan Dewsbury Hall, prior to when Brendan Rodgers brought him through, a lot of fans would have said, because we had a few years, Jack, where we had a lot of players going out on loan every year and they were coming back and they were nowhere near it. And so it was nice to have Dewsbury Hall kind of explode, if you like, onto the scene, and now you're seeing it with others as well, Monger and players like that.
It's a bit like Casey McAteer as well. Like he was at Forest Green Rovers and then Wimbledon, and then all of a sudden he jumps into the first team under Enzo. He gets the brace against Rotherham and he plays for the first team in the Premier League as well, and then we eventually sell him to Ipswich for a good fee. So that just kind of shows the value of the academy and how they can just quickly, burst up. And even he was pretty small, and then he physically improved as well. I think that was quite similar with Dewsbury Hall.
Yeah, I mean, Rice saying what we already brought up. The under-21s are playing Juventus now. For anybody who wants to know, it's on the Juventus YouTube channel, if I'm not mistaken. But Rye, keep us updated. If anyone scores, let us know. JJ says, how old's Kev? So he's 18. I think Jack says 18 years old, which is why we were just thinking maybe he's a little bit closer to the first team training at least. Want to move on to this one. I'm going to be honest with you, Jack. I'd never heard of this guy before until I did a little bit of research today. I'm going to try and not butcher this guy. Kirsten Ocheri, I'm going to go. I believe he's Ghanaian as well. A striker. What can you tell me about this one, mate? Because I saw one or two clips as well. It's very hard to find clips for these guys, but I saw one or two clips and he looks promising. But yeah, what do you make to this guy?
Yeah, so he's another age 18. He was with the 21s. He's played like 4 games with them, but mostly for the 18s. He's played 34 games with them. But I think the reason why you might have heard him before, but then like forgotten because he got injured last season, so he's out from October to April. So, a big part of last season when, Monga, Evans and all these guys were kind of putting a focus on the 21s, he wasn't there. So I think that was more than likely like a reason why people may not know him. But he's very tall, athletic, and his finishing's really good. Like if you might see some of the clips and he can shoot from anywhere, good angles, good technique from range as well. So I think he'd be one to watch. It depends on like how the injury has affected him though, because that is pretty lengthy, and especially at this stage as well when he's getting to that 17, 18, when you're trying to burst into the 21s. So we'll have to see, but I think he has all the attributes, to maybe join in a bit of first team training or the squad.
Yeah, yeah. There's people talking about the youth game. Briggs almost scored apparently, but yeah, I mean, looking again at some of the notes you sent. I mean, long term injury he's had. So October to April he was out. So quite.
Yeah.
What was that, mate? Was that what did he have? Do you know?
I'm not sure. Like, it's very hard to find information on like a lot of the players because the club just doesn't say anything. But yeah, all I know is it was from them dates because that's when he joined back. But that is quite long for like a player at that level.
Yeah, very athletic, good finishing, can score from range. His debut was at 17 then for the under 21s, but in the under 18s, 14 goals, 3 assists. Striker and a number 2. He can play. He's played both, right? Strike number 9
Yeah.
and number 10.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, with the athleticism, he seems quite tall. So I think, if he did play the number 10, he could maybe play as like a shadow striker or getting in behind, winning headers as well. So I think, like I said, with the attributes, like that physicality and the height as well could really help, and it could provide like a different option if we needed it at any time.
Yeah, yeah. Fossa, this isn't one that we've got written down to talk about, but we will mention. Let's just quickly mention it now. What do you know about Hugo Delisle, Jack? Because I've seen a lot of people talking about this guy over the last couple of weeks. He isn't one of the ones that obviously graduated. He's only 16. What obviously Fossa is saying that there's interest from City, Chelsea, as there always is, right? With really good young players. We heard the same about Page and Monga and Evans. But what do you know about Hugo Delisle, mate? What can you tell us?
Yeah, so he's played for England this week. He scored actually, so England under 17. So he's clearly like highly rated by them. I think he might have been injured last season because he missed out on a bit of the season, but he plays for the under 18s, like you say, 16. He strikes me as like a bit of a Madison regen, like very good at free kicks, good in tight spaces. He has decent finishing as well. Maybe not like the most physically like ready, but it's something he could obviously work on. But I think he has again like the attributes: very nice dribbling, close control, good footwork. So, and there's obviously a lot of hype. If Man City, Chelsea, all these top academies want him, there's clearly a reason. But
Yeah.
I think with how we're developing players at the moment, we may be able to keep hold of someone like him.
Well, that's right, mate. Because this is what we were speaking about a lot on the channel, kind of when the whole Monga and Evans stuff was happening at the end of the season, and we were saying that you want to show future academy players and future youth players that the pathway is there to get into the first team. Because I don't think it has always been there for Leicester. Like I said, I think we went through a few years where it was very difficult for players, bar maybe. I mean, I'm thinking of Chilwell, I'm thinking of Dewsbury Hall, and I'm thinking of Thomas and Barnes. So there's 4. There's 4 players. I'm sure there's more, but it did feel like a lot of players were kind of just going under the radar and maybe not getting the development they needed or the pathway they needed. So it's super important now to see Page and Evans and Donaghy, all of these players. But I do fear, mate, that a big part of this is due to PSR. Like, we can't spend money, so they're having to go down this route. But maybe it will teach them that, there are players out there, young players, who can make a real difference, and that pathway has to be there. So feels like our academy is blooming all of a sudden, says Mr. Mod. Well, we're going to talk about that at the end, mate, 'cause there's something specific I want to mention. Peter says great passing on Delisle. He's in the under-18s, but will likely move to the under-21s shortly at 16 years old. Let's wait and see. And then there's just another comment here about we play them in the main team. The players can show their skills and earn a big move. Leicester make good money, hopefully. Peter says, since our last relegation, I made a point to follow as much of the academy as possible. They often execute our style of play better. Yeah, tell me, Jack. Let's just break here to let me ask you how and why have you got kind of so focused in on the academy and the younger players and stuff like that? Is it just something you decided to do and started following it, or what?
Yeah, so I needed like more experience because I want to do journalism like in the future. So creating an account was like a good idea, I thought, and I kind of looked at it and like the club don't really show anything anymore. Like you can look back in like 2021 when like Will Alves was coming through, and you can see all the live streams and stuff and how they would like live tweet during games, lineups, everything. And now it's like radio silent. Like, so I kind of thought that would be a good idea and a bit niche to create an account and provide people with that information that they're probably missing, and there's clearly a demand for it and especially at the minute as well with how many players are coming through. I think it would be a shame to not have these clips, these highlights, and more of a knowing of who's actually coming through.
Yeah, no, bang on, mate. Yeah, you're right. I remember the live streams that used to be out there, and because back then with Braybrook and Alves, when they first kind of came on, people started first talking about them, there was such a high demand, and I feel like that's back now. It is back now that loads of people just want to know what's going on with the under-21s, and it's just so pathetic. How pathetic is it that Juventus are showing the game at Seagrave and Leicester City aren't? It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy to me that that's not happening. So, yeah, the club really, really need to sort that out big time. Right, let's move on to Bless sorry, I'm going to butcher a few of these. Bless Al-Kabire. I don't know. I'm going to go with that. Midfielder. Again, another one who's just signed or graduated from the academy, mate. What can you tell us about Bless?
Yeah, so age 18 once again. He came from Arsenal last season. Nice. So I don't know if he was released or like what, but he came on trial and they signed, I think it was like on the night of the Brentford game, maybe at home. Okay. So it's just like in the middle of the season, not at the end. He's left-footed, central midfielder, can also play DM. And as I said, so he played 13 games last season for the Leicester under-18s, 2 goals, which is a decent return. So he's clearly like willing to get on the end of things, box crash maybe. And he seems quite physical as well, as I say. And with Arsenal, he came through like that age group with Miles Lewis-Skelly, Ethan Nwaneri. So it's clearly, a very highly rated group. And he was playing with players that are now in the Arsenal first team and went on to be in the best level. So I think he could become someone that, gets into that 21s team. We've not really seen him yet this season. And he's not made the step up to the 21s yet, but I'm sure he will soon.
Yeah. I think with the midfielders, I mean, you look at Braybrook. What are your thoughts on Braybrook, mate? Because again, with Alves, there was such hype and a lot of promise for them both. They both had awful injuries. Of course, the 2 ACLs were absolutely heartbreaking for both of them. And that challenge, if you remember that challenge on Alves from that Wolves youth player. What do you make them both? Because obviously Braybrook out at Port Vale, Will Alves out at Huddersfield. He scored his first goal for them on the weekend. Braybrook obviously played against Port Vale. I saw the EFL coverage calling him the Leicester Iniesta. It should be Modric because of the hair and the headband. But do you have? This sounds a bit harsh and a bit blunt, but do you have much hope for Braybrook specifically, as we're talking about an 8 and a 6, do you have much hope that he can come back and play for Leicester, or do you think maybe his future is elsewhere?
I'm not sure at this stage. Like physically, I think that's the biggest issue because he's obviously missed a whole year through that injury, which you couldn't have done anything about. And I'm not sure, especially with how physical like football's going and out of possession and how demanding it is. Will he be able to give that option? But that's why I kind of think Henry Cartwright, who's on loan at Falkirk, could be one to watch instead of him now in terms of that ceiling and making it into the first team. I think he's a lot taller, seems a bit bigger, and I think that will help and give him more chances when looking to get into that first team because it's nice being technical, but you also have to be. It's the important physicality, and especially under Marty as well. So I think that'll be a big thing to watch.
Yeah, I mean, Peter says, I think the centre mids are almost always going to be late bloomers. They control the game. Yeah, and of course, physically, like you said, Jack, but also like mentally as well, seeing the game. I mean, that's, I'm sure, something that you improve on over time as well with experience, and that'll be a big part of it. Like I said with Dewsbury Hall, he feels like it feels like a bit of a late bloomer because that was when he exploded, right? That loan to Luton, when he went to Luton, and he had a really, really good year, and suddenly he came back, and I think he started with some substitute appearances and stuff like that, and we were just like, wow. So I think I think you're making the right call there by not writing off Braybrook. I think there is still time, and he can come back and do something. But I feel like, mate, like you said, the ACLs for both of them, I think it's really halted their progress, and it's such a shame. And I think it's why so many people talk so much about protecting these players. Like when we talk about Monga, the last thing you'd want is a serious injury to Monga, and you just don't know what it can do to a player. But this guy, bless Al-Kabire, am I saying that right? Do you know? Do you think I'm saying it right?
Yeah, I think you're saying it right. I mean, I'm not too sure, but I think you're saying it right, yeah.
Yeah, but again, another one that we can look at and follow, and hopefully he makes good progress. 18 years old, like you said, so maybe not too far from a cup game or a bit of training. I did read as well on your notes, mate. Correct me if I'm wrong. He actually trained with the Arsenal first team, and he joined. What was this? Oh yeah. So he trained with the Arsenal first team with Nwaneri and Lewis Skelly.
Yeah, so I think it was actually like Champions League training because I remember seeing a picture of him with Havertz. So I'm not sure about the circumstances and how close he actually was to that first team, but I mean he's clearly pretty rated at Arsenal. I think it was a few years back, but if you're training with the first team at a club of that level and that magnitude when they have so many options, I think that's clearly promising.
Yeah, I'm just looking here. I'm just reading some news here on him. So this article says, let's see. So he signed his first professional contract. So is he also? Oh, so he was born in England, but he's from Ghanaian heritage. This article says poached from Arsenal, but I don't know if that would be true, but maybe it's a bit of clickbait. But we've got him, and he's clearly a very promising player, so that's the main thing. Towley says, really interesting stream this. You should make it a regular feature monthly, if not already. Yeah, that's something we could look at. Great insight from Jack as the club seemed to keep quiet on the under-21s. There was also a bit of a conspiracy here that somebody had. Firstly, Mark says, doing a great job, Rising Foxes. I think the club, so he reckons the club have stopped coverage to shelter their best talent. For smaller clubs like us, it's almost a shop window. Yeah, maybe, Mark, but I feel like there's scouts everywhere, right? It doesn't need to be shown on YouTube for someone to be noticed. But I get what you mean. There's more hype, I suppose, and more people are talking about him if you can watch it. Adrian says, remember Sheffield Wednesday released a young striker who was too small to play for Stocksbridge Steels. Wonder what happened to him. Absolutely. There was also the Messi chat as well. When Messi was younger, there was a lot of talk about he's too small, and I think he was on like growth hormones and everything. Lionel Messi was. So yeah. Anyway, let's move on. I want to now move on to Lorenz Hutchinson. So somebody in the stream earlier on, Jack said, if I can find it. Let me see. I think somebody said here we go. I don't know if you've already spoken about Hutchinson, but he's our next big star in my opinion. That's what Danke says. So tell us a little bit about Hutchinson, mate, because I know there is a little bit of hype around this guy.
Yeah, so he's actually age 17, so he's a year younger than a lot of these, which already stands out as like a big thing when looking at someone. And he's a striker as well. He was with that under-16 team that won the PL Cup against Man City. So Jake Evans, Jeremy Monga, they were all involved in that. So again, to be in that squad, like clearly quite strong. He's left-footed, but he can also use his right, which again gives him a bit of versatility, a bit of unpredictability, and he can also play off the wing. So I think the game in Florida where he scored, he was looking to cut inside, utilise that left foot from off the right. So he's quite versatile. He can adapt, but his goal scoring record's like insane from what I've seen. So 2022-23, 60 goals. And then the following season, 55 goals and assists in 29 games. 24-25, so last season with the under-18s, he got 12 and 19. And then this season already, he's already got 5 goals and assists in four games for the under-18s. So clearly very highly rated. He's in the under-21 squad tonight, so hopefully we can see more of that.
Crazy numbers there that you were reeling off. So is he, how old is he, 17 or 18?
17, yeah.
17. So he's I mean, I've put him down here as a striker, but he can play out wide as well. Again, just going over what you just said, but crazy numbers. So yeah, 60 goals in 22-23. Did you say that was in the under-16s, was it? The 22-23?
Yeah, so I'm not really sure like what age groups this is with, but I'm guessing it's the under-16s. But like all of his numbers, he's won loads of like player of the tournaments when like under-15s, under-14s, when he's playing up age groups, and he's getting like 8 goals in 5 games. So yeah, very good goal scorer. And I think we've seen that Forest wanted him recently, which I think it was very good to get him onto that new contract, and he clearly didn't really care about that interest. So just keep bedding him in, and we can see what happens.
Yeah, and he's left-footed. We all love a left. Is that right? He's left-footed. I think that's what you said. So we all love a left-footed player. So what is he like, though, mate? If you know, like, is he a quick strike? Is he more about pace? Is he what can you tell me about there?
I'd say he's a bit small, so he won't necessarily be like a target man. He's a bit more agile, a bit more quick, wants to get in behind, wants to get on the end of things. But I think, he'll physically grow, so he's still only 17, so we'll see how that develops.
Yeah, totally. Mr. Mod said if Locks pays, I'll go watch all the academy games for you. You can stream it. I don't know if that would be a little bit naughty. Just stream it on your phone. Think he prefers playing down the middle, says Sean. Off the shoulder, says Peter. So maybe a Vardy replay. No, I'm joking. Let's not put that pressure on his shoulders. Apparently Briggs has almost scored again. Rice says he's on the bench tonight, so hopefully he comes on in the second half. Just reading through your notes. So is he is now in the 21s, isn't it? Is he now a fully fledged under 21s, or is he still kind of there, dropping up and
So he played for the under-18s like the last few weeks, but he did come off the bench against Braintree Town in the National League Cup. So I think they will be targeting him to make that step up, and because he's in the starting 11 tonight as well, I would expect him to jump up. But there's so many options in that team, like that 21s team, because you've still got Jake Evans, Silko Thomas, Amani Richards, Josh King, Keane Pennant. So it is quite hard just to nail that down. So we'll have to see.
Yeah. Also, I've just seen somebody mention him. Is he start? Yeah. Just before we touch on the last player, because I'm looking forward to talking about the last player, and I know you've got quite a bit on him. But Michael Golden, mate, what have you made from that situation? Because when we signed him a year ago, it almost felt like it was a PSR type deal where, because it was 5 million for him, and obviously the whole dodgy PSR deals that were going on because we sold Dewsbury Hall to them. However, on the other hand, a lot of Chelsea fans who are engrossed in their academy football were singing his praises, saying like this guy is one of the most highly rated prospects at Chelsea. So, it's been a bit of a hit and miss, mostly misses for him so far at Leicester, but he's still very young, and he played a little bit in pre-season. I thought he was going to go out on loan, but it's not happened. What are your thoughts on Michael Golden?
Yeah, so when he was at Chelsea, he actually came off the bench. I think it might have been an FA Cup game or EFL Cup, one or the other. So I mean, if he's coming off the bench for their first team, like they clearly like rate him a lot, and especially with the amount of talent they have, first team or in the academy. So I think that definitely stands out. But I think he did have an injury last season. Can't remember how lengthy it actually was, but so I think that might have hurt his momentum and trying to get into the first team. But Rude did actually play him at the end of last season off the bench. I think it was like a minute, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think he doesn't look that physical to me. Like he still looks quite slender, so maybe he might fill out in the future. But technically, as you'd expect from a player that comes from Chelsea, he's very good. He likes to play in the half space, likes to combine with his wingers. So, and when I've seen him, like there was a game against Liverpool, one of his first ones, and he like run the show. He's getting crosses in, got assists. I think he might have even scored. So I think it might take time. I would have liked to learn as well. I'm not sure why they didn't really, because another season at 21s might, be a bit harmful. But yeah, we'll have to see.
Well, Peter's saying here he's too good for the PL2, but he's a little way off a championship level for me. A season or two on loan, and maybe we might see the talent. I suppose that you got to think, because the physicality thing, I think what you mentioned is very is very true. Like he's very slender, very skinny, doesn't seem to have too much muscle on him, if you want to call it that, and maybe a League One loan might be a bit too physical for him, if you know what I mean. And the style of footballs that teams in League One tend to play, maybe it wouldn't suit him. But yeah, it's interesting to see what does happen for him. I mean, somebody else said here, Sean said maybe the club just haven't made a decision for him yet. Just on the injury, you mentioned his injury. I did hear actually it was very hush hush, as things are with the youth, with the younger players, but apparently he did have quite a nasty injury last season. I don't know what it was, but he had quite a bad injury, and as you said, he came off the bench. Was it the Bournemouth game, the last game of the season, where he came on for a minute?
I think it was the last home game. Was that Ipswich or Southampton?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Ipswich. Yeah, I remember he came. I hate it, Jack. The 1 minute substitutions for young players. It almost feels it's a token. It's a token substitute. It means nothing. Jake Evans has had loads of them. He had a few of them. I think he came on really late on in one or two of the games. It was just like, what you want to give him at least 5 minutes, 10 minutes to show something.
That's why I'll never forgive Rude for what he did in that Bournemouth game. I mean, didn't he play like Thomas or Christensen at left wing as opposed to either Luca maybe playing or Jake Evans, or Monga? Like that was a pretty wasted opportunity, I think, especially in a game that meant nothing at the end of the season. I mean, getting beat, like that could have been a good opportunity.
That was shocking. Yeah, I remember the meltdown that happened when that team got announced. It was almost like it was a parting gift from him to basically go like that, because he knew he was getting sacked. But very frustrating. I agree with you completely. Monga, he should have started. We had Thomas and Christensen on the bench. On the pitch. And yeah, I can't even remember if it was one of those, because I know he liked to play Luke Thomas left centre back and Christensen left wing back, which again is just shocking. That's bad. That's bad in its own right. Yeah, but I agree with you. But yeah, Luco, Monga, they could have both started that game, a meaningless game, last game of the season, and that gives those players like a great summer. Like imagine your last game of the season playing in the Premier League, starting in the Premier League, and they could have gone off on their summer holidays, whatever, and been absolutely buzzing with that. So yeah, that was really poor from Rude. There was a comment here. His long frame at under 21s mean he's more competitive physically at that level, but yeah, he's got to fill out his frame for the senior game. There's one more thing I want to ask you actually before we go on to Riley Carr. So I want you to give your opinion on this because it's something we talk about a lot. What do you think about Monga on where his best position is? Because I know when he first came through and a lot of people were talking about him, a lot of people were saying off the right, that's his position, a right winger. His own words on a TikTok live were, I'm a number 10. He prefers to play in the number 10. But I would say it's very small sample size, obviously, but because he only played a few games at right wing and he's only played a few at left. But so far, on the left, he looks the best. So he looks better than Steffi Mavididi, which is nuts. So what do you think his best position is?
Yeah, so I seen the debate actually. Was it Manny the other day?
Yeah.
Arguing about it, and I mean I've seen people trying to like pigeonhole him into just being off the left, which I just don't think is right. Like one of his best attributes is the fact that he's so bow-footed. He can go left or right. He can use both feet like amazingly. And like I remember a goal, I think it was against Coventry under 21s, where he cuts inside off the right onto his left foot and finessed it past the keeper.
Like
outside the
Fatawu.
box. Yeah, literally exactly the same. And when people like, I don't think you can just strictly say he's a left winger, like a Mavididi or a Fatawu on the right. So I think we could be a bit more unpredictable, maybe use him on either side. I will say his right foot is stronger, but even like the assist for Ricardo against Birmingham, we can see him using both feet and dazzling the defenders with that. So I would like to see him on the left more, and I think he's better than Mavididi just this season. And obviously trying to take Fatawa out of the team's never going to happen. But he can play either side, and like you said with the 10 as well, like we've seen him coming a bit more centrally in some of the pre-season games, like into the half space when rotating. So I guess that's something we could see more. And he's so good in tight spaces as well, which would really help in like threading the passes. So maybe something we could see a bit more, but I think Marty would like something a bit more physical, as we've seen with Lewis Page playing there.
Yeah. Right, let's move on then to Riley Carr. So, I'll let you kind of explain the situation, but as far as I'm aware, he was at Hartford, and we've picked him up. But yeah, go on. You tell us what you know about Riley Carr, mate.
Yeah, so age 16, he got his debut for Hertford Town in the Southern League Division 1 Central, so like very much down the pyramid. And to break into a team like that, and especially like become known to these top academies, I think 27 different clubs wanted him, which like clearly stands out. And the fact that Leicester won the race and got him on trial was clearly important. And so he played for their under-18s team that in the FA Youth Cup they beat like 6 teams, and they got to the third round proper, and they played against Arsenal under-18s and they lost 4-3, but they gave it a really good go considering against an elite level academy, and they're a small team, and the fact that I think some of their players have either gone to like QPR, obviously Riley Carr's gone to Leicester. It was a very good group, and the fact that I think they beat Bristol Rovers, Cambridge United, so they've got a very good record, and for that kind of run and his ability as well to help them against a team like Arsenal clearly very stands out.
Yeah, so this is one again that I've seen a lot of kind of quite a bit of hype around at the moment. I've seen a lot of people talking about him, and yeah, like you said, 27 clubs interested in him. Peter reckons this is the kid who comes through next for me.
Yeah.
I mean, what type of? So obviously he's a winger. Is he? I saw quick and tricky. I think I saw somebody say. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. So
close control.
Yeah, winger, very quick, very direct. He seems quite powerful to me. Like he's got quite a big stature.
Yeah.
Can carry a ball really well. And obviously, like he's playing at a bit of a lesser level, but the fact that he's going against actual men and taking them on and competing regularly with them is very good. And he was scoring goals as well. Like so, that technique's clearly there. He can go left or right. I think he is strong foot is the right, but we can see that he can play either side as well.
Yeah. That's let me try and find what I was reading earlier about Riley Carr. Let's have a look. So, oh yeah, so I saw your tweet. I saw your tweet. So you said very impressed by Riley Carr in tonight's game. Looks like a player from Hartford to Florida. The 16-year-old winger was on fire. A recent trialist for Leicester and looks like a top player. Am I right in saying he was on trial for like a couple of weeks and we signed him up or something like that? I think I read.
Yeah, so I don't really know like the situation. I just know it was a trial. He got like a goal and assist in one of the under-18s game. I think it was against Norwich. And then he
Yeah.
also went on the tour to Florida with the under-18s, and that's where like I first watched the full 90 of him. And he really impressed me, like the willingness to take on his man. And he looked better than like Hutchinson and all these other guys, which I was very impressed by, especially to get thrown into those circumstances, like going from playing, at Hertford Town to then being on a tour with Leicester. It's very impressive.
Yeah, so I've got a fast winger with great close control. Carr is the youngest player and youngest goal scorer in Hartford's history. 2 goals and 2 assists in 5 youth games for Leicester so far. I think he's played two. I want to say 3 for one, for the under-18s and 2 for the under-21s, or the other way around, one of them. But I know he's got 2 goals, 2 assists in each of those age groups this season. And the other thing I read was, scored and assisted in his first game on trial in an under-18s game versus Norwich. It's interesting to see a couple people. I mean, Peter was saying this is the kid, obviously, who comes through next for me. Sean says better at his age than Silko Thomas was when he came from Chelsea. Peter agrees with this. I'd just push Wanya and Thomas aside for this kid. Would you agree with that, Jack? It's a little bit harsh, but do you think this guy is the next one to come through at Leicester, the next exciting one?
I do like the fact. So he's 17 now, but like recently turned it, and like I was saying with that statue, and playing against actual men, I think that will translate so well into first team or if he goes out on loan. And the fact that he's already doing well against youth teams at this level as well is incredible. And with Wanya and Silko Thomas and Manny Richards, like I'm not really sure about their pathway at the moment, and they're only getting older. Will they, make that step up? I'm not sure.
Yeah. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was this place. I mean, Seagrave at the time, one of the most impressive, still one of the most impressive training grounds in Europe, in the world. And it has got stick in the past. I think a lot of people, including myself, have questioned about maybe has it changed the culture at the club? Did it change the feeling? When we were at Beaver Drive, it was a very close knit, small, modest training ground, and everybody knew each other, and all the players were humble. And since then, it's changed, but I suppose that's modern day football, right? You want the best facilities, and now we're 5 years nearly into Seagrave. Do you think this is why we're seeing so many great talents coming through, Jack? Because we can attract more youngsters, maybe the better ones, to join the academies, but also the ones that you do have that come through, the local ones that come through, they've got much better facilities. Do you think this plays a big part?
Yeah, so when we're thinking about like the pool and how we're attracting players, you've got Chris Popov, he came from Man United, Jaden Joseph from Manchester City, Silko Thomas from Chelsea, Manny Richards from Arsenal. So we're clearly pulling like players from big academies, and they will have obviously chose Leicester over many options, which I think definitely helps. And I think it'll help keep players here as well, like with Page, Munga, Evans. They will see the facilities on the day to day, and it will obviously be a factor in like staying with Leicester. And I think it's definitely helping with the improving as well. When you've got better technology, better coaches, it's always going to help. And I think it's no surprise like how well the academy is doing at the moment, and how many players look on the cusp of making it themselves into the first team. Like you said before, we had eras where, like, say, Ben Chilwell was the only one that kind of made that step up, or Harvey Barnes. I think it could be more regular, and I think it was more of a long-term process, but I think we're definitely starting to, reap the rewards.
And of course, with with players of this age that we're talking about, the parents, right? The parents are going to be impressed. The parents rock
Yeah,
up to the training ground with the player, and obviously the player will have the final decision. But I'm sure they're informed and they're advised by their parents, and the parents are going to be impressed when they walk into these facilities. So yeah, there's a few comments here. Sean says people scapegoated Seagrave for so long because of the senior squad and the price tag. There was Mr. Mod said La Masia is another word for Seagrave. There was another comment here as well which said facilities and pathways, Mr. Mod. And I think you're right, Jack. Like, you've got the better facilities with regards to developing them. You've got the best facilities, which might make some players stay at the club longer. But as you said, or as we just discussed, like one thing you don't think about when you think of youth, the academy and stuff like that is they're not all local lads from Leicester or down the road. You do poach them, like we get players poached by like Liverpool with Trey Nyoni, and it also we do the same with, let's say, Hartford, right? We've poached Riley Carr, and 27 clubs interested, Jack. One look of Seagrave, maybe sometimes that's all it takes. You walk around, you go, wow, like this is a serious place where I can develop. So yeah, I think now I would agree we're finally seeing it pay off, the results. So now that's it, Jack. I mean, is there any other players that you wanted to quickly touch on before we left it there? Is there anyone you want to mention? Because like we said, we only went through a few, but there were 11. Is there any other names that you kind of want people, you think people should keep an eye on?
So Ryan Donnelly was another one that signed. He's Northern Ireland under 21s. He's playing with them actually this week, so I think he's a central midfielder, but he's been playing fullback. And what makes him quite interesting, I think someone brought it up before, it was about like the fact that we're actually bringing the squads into the first team tactics into the
Yeah.
21s and the 18s. And I think that was a big thing that we saw under Enzo, where they were playing out from the back, they were taking more risks. We saw, the goalkeeper, say Brad Young, like joining the back four like Hamad's did. And I think that's a big stage of their development, and we're definitely seeing it already with Marty. So we're seeing a centre mid play right back. We've seen Logan Briggs play at fullback as well. And to see those tactics, kind of come to fruition and them learning it, if we want to create a long-term project and have that seamless transition to the first team, when you're learning, your position and what Cifuentes expects, I think that's very important.
Yeah, I think that's bang on, mate. I think that's bang on. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned, the flexibilities, but like you said, Bade Aluko, he can play pretty much all across that back line, can't he?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this then. Let me ask you one final question. Let's Monger aside, because we know what Monger is, and we're all expecting good things from him. But if I had to say to you, Page, Aluko, and Evans, which of them three do you think, if you had to place a bet, which of them three do you think will go on to the best things? I know that's a bit of a difficult question, but who's impressed you the most out of them three?
I'd probably say Page right now, but that's just because we've seen a lot more of him, and he's a bit younger, and he's in the England setup. He's played for the 17s, the 18s. He's obviously left-footed, very tall. But I think the more we see of Aluko, we'll kind of get a grasp of what he's about, and let's see if he can make that transition, because I definitely think he could be one that excels under Marty, like very long legs, athletic, tall, can attack really well, very aggressive, can play in the half space, how we've seen Luke Thomas do. So I think, yeah, he would certainly be another one. As for Jake Evans, I'm not necessarily sure right now, but if he can physically improve, I've seen how good he is at finishing, at Lincoln play. I mean, he's an amazing finisher. He scored a hat trick. Only him and Ethan Nwaneri have scored hat tricks at 16 in PL2, which definitely stands out. He was in the Golden Boot race in that league as well, and he was doing this all at 16. So I definitely think they could all, make their stamp into the first team and go on to even bigger things than Leicester City. But right now, I'd definitely say Page, just off what we've seen.
Yeah, and Monga just a cut
Yeah,
above. Monga's just different. He's different. I did a video like a few weeks ago, Jack. I was like, he's gonna play for Real Madrid. He's gonna play for Real Madrid. He's gonna play for Real
yeah,
Madrid.
I've seen it.
He's just so good.
I don't even think it's crazy at this point. Like, I see people doing these Wonder Kid lists, and maybe they just don't see what he's doing, but like the amount of things that he can do, and like how technically he is as well. Like, even when you compare him to Fatawi, like, don't get me wrong, Fatawi's better. He's more, physical. He has that better pace and the acceleration, and he can just do things out of nothing. But when you look at Munga's like first touch, taking on man, the skills, his intelligence, his ideas when he's coming up against the defender, like some of the things he's doing in pre-season. I know it's only pre-season, but against Bundesliga defenders and getting doubled up on, and just taking them on easily and being so confident to do it as well. So yeah, I can definitely see him, going on to huge things, whether it be Man City, Real Madrid. He has everything.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with you. I think it's crazy. I actually think he was our best player in pre-season. I think he was the best player.
Yeah,
And I'd say when he's on the pitch, he's our best player now. Like, I think he struggled a little bit in that game he started. Was it Preston? No, it wasn't Preston. What game did he
Charlton.
start? Charlton. I think he struggled a little bit there, but coming off the bench as well in that Birmingham game. I mean, my God, that assist. Just the trickery. He sold the defender. Perfectly weighted ball into Ricardo, and I'm sure you saw it. But he turned to the crowd before the goal even went into the net. He's got the confidence, and again, I know you've probably seen it, but he uploaded the video of the England game where he nutmegged someone. And he just put a laughing face, like he just don't give a damn. He's funny. He's a funny guy, and go on.
Yeah, the way he changed that Preston game as well, like that really stood out to me because, like, I've said this about him, like people kind of question like the output with him, but then the fact that he's taking our man, cutting inside and then scoring past Daniel Leverson, like, and in a game where we really struggled to find anything, he completely like changed the momentum, gave us a huge threat and kind of forced Preston to make a few changes. And Fatawu, El Kanous, Mavididi, they all really struggled in that game. So the fact that he was doing that, completely changing games at 16 years old and only just turned 16 as well, I mean, it's absolutely insane. And he's only getting better, really.
Yeah, that's right. He will only get better. We're here, it's already. I think the cat's out of the bag, right? A lot of the pundits, the EFL pundits, are talking about him, and I'm seeing lots of fans as well talking about him. Manny is just fully on. Manny reckons he should be called up to the World Cup squad in June.
Yeah, that's a bit crazy.
Summer. That's what I said. And he reckons he's already better than Madueke and whoever and Doku.
Didn't he say Doku as well?
Doku, he's better than them all.
Yeah.
Which is a bit, crazy, but I see where he's coming from. I think he definitely could become better than all of them. I don't think that would surprise anyone if we were sat here in 10 years. Me and him were actually talking about betting and stuff. I was like, I fancy a cheeky bet on him to win the Ballon d'Or, maybe. See what you can get on that. But yeah, maybe.
I could see it, to be fair. If he went to like a PSG or a Real Madrid and he was like the starting winger, because he has all the attributes to do that. Like, it wouldn't be that crazy, but we just need to hope that he didn't get any injuries. That would be like the main thing at this point, and just manage those minutes, because as good as he is, we don't want to, have that same issue that we had with Alves and Braybrook.
Yeah, totally. It's crazy though, isn't it? Like in 10 years, he'll be 26 years old. He'll only be 26 in 10 years. He's got 20 years of a career still ahead of him, which is mental. And I mean, I keep saying this, Jack, though, when I speak to Championship fans, I think he's better than Bellingham was at the same age, in my opinion. Like, I know they're different positions and they offer different things, but for me, he's like just slightly ahead of where Bellingham was, and look what he went and did. And I suppose Bellingham took a really smart path. He went to Dortmund and didn't go straight to a big club. Well, Dortmund are a big club, but you know what I mean? He didn't go to a super team straight away. He went to Germany and was great there, and then got his big move. And I think Monga would, if he was smart and his family was smart and his advisors were smart, he would do something similar, or just stay at Leicester. I mean, if Leicester get promoted, if Leicester are in the Premier League, I could see him staying longer. I just think if we weren't promoted, if we do stay in the Championship, I think it's not going to be long before he's gone. To be honest with you, I think you'll probably agree with that. But just very sorry. Finally, I keep saying this, but finally, Peter asked, so Peter will get. You mentioned it, Jack, but the under-21 style of play, Peter says it's impressive. They've implemented Marty's system and effectively. Would you agree with that? That they're going, you mentioned it, that they're kind of rolling down the style of football to the younger players.
Yeah, so I actually might do a thread on this soon, because it's very clear. And the fact that, so a lot of the goals that have came in those under-21s games came through high pressing, which we haven't necessarily saw the best of yet with the first team, because you have to be a bit more pragmatic, especially when you're looking to grind out games like that Birmingham one, like the Charlton one. But especially like the Liverpool one, they forced 4 mistakes, they win 4-2. The Derby one, it was similar again, a high press, and especially with the rotations as well. I think that's something Anil was touching on, like when he was doing the tactics show. The fact that we're seeing them invert, we're seeing midfielders play at fullback, we're seeing centre backs, bringing the ball out, we're seeing Braybrook drop in between the centre backs to receive. So there's a lot of, I think, ideas that we could maybe see in the first team that he's maybe testing here in the 21s to see if it works and see how they do with these ideas. But I think it's certainly something that's very promising, and it was something that Enzo did really well with how well he translated it.
Yeah, absolutely banging, mate. Right, one more time. There is your social. So go check out Jack's X, Jack Warsick _ and then also, of course, the Rising Foxes. If you haven't seen it yet, if you've been living under the rock, Jack's threads on Carranza, Jordan James, Aaron Ramsey, absolutely brilliant. I can't wait to see Jordan James in a Leicester shirt. Those that watch the channel know how excited I am for that. But the Rising Foxes stuff as well. That's literally where I get all of my my youth and academy information from and clips. So the club don't do it, so Jack does it instead. Maybe they'll hire Jack one day. Maybe that's what they should do. So yeah, thank you, Jack, mate. Much appreciated. We'll get you on again soon, hopefully, and we'll discuss it more. As we say that, Juventus just scored to make it 1-0. There we go. So yeah. Again, cheers, Jack, mate. Much appreciated, and we'll see you soon. All right, mate.
Yeah, thank you for your time, and really enjoyed it.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for coming on. See you soon, mate. All the best. Cheers to Jack. What a guy. So much information. Quality, absolutely quality. Like I said on X, I think he's now very quickly becoming the go-to for threads and stuff like that, and information on new signings and just in general Leicester City, but also the Rising Foxes page as well on Instagram as well and X. So go in, make sure you follow Jack on both accounts. And yeah, we're going to end it there. Thanks to everybody for joining us. Very much appreciated. We will be back very soon. 1-1 apparently. 1-1, really? That was quick. Juventus went 1. Somebody confirm that if that's true. I'm sure Jack's already watching it. But yeah, I'm going to go watch it now, actually, now that we've been speaking about those players. Yeah, 1-1. Wow. Let's actually very quickly, can we see if we can get the goal? Let's quickly check. Juventus. Let's see if we can see the goal quick. Here it is. And let's share the screen. Pennant scored. Here we go. Here is the goal. Let's zoom in and rewind a little bit. Okay. Long ball. There you go. From Pennant. Little cheeky deflection as well on the way through. Or maybe there wasn't, actually. Maybe that wasn't a deflection. Maybe it was a bit of swaz. But there you go. Pennant scores for Leicester. There you go. So yeah, once you've ended the stream, go and check that out on Juventus's YouTube channel. Again, big shout out to Jack. Big shout out to all of you guys. We're not doing a watch along, but maybe we could do that. Maybe we can do a watch along for the youth team one day. We'll get Jack on for it. But yeah, cheers all. We'll see you very soon. All the best. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you very soon. Bye bye. Massive thank you to today's sponsor, Match Bingo. Over 200 grand has been paid out to players so far by taking sports betting, football and bingo and combining them into one amazing app. Make sure to get your bingo card for any Leicester City game in the upcoming season. Click that link in the description or via the QR code on screen.